Welcome to Pitmaster, an Old Virginia Smoke podcast. I'm your host, Luke Darnell. This week, we have one of my good friends, Scottie Johnson from Cancer Sucks Chicago. Scottie is one of the legends of barbecue. He has a fantastic story to tell. He's a world champion, and he is just an overall great guy with a fantastic story. So I think that you'll enjoy this interview from one of the true legends of barbecue. So please join me in welcoming Scottie Johnson. So we're here with Scottie Johnson from Cancer Sucks Chicago. And Scottie, what do you got in your glass this evening?
We're having a little lemonade that's brown from Kentucky. I got a little old Granddad 114.
So in the interest of, normally I tell a story about my podcast guests as a good intro. But in the interest of having you starting, you're going to tell a story because I decided to pour me some old Bardstown from the Willett Distillery.
Oh, that's a great distillery.
Yes, it is. So for those of you that aren't familiar, when we went and cooked the barbecue fight club, Scottie brought, can you refresh me on the bottle, what it was?
It was a Willett family or whatever the good one's called. Just single batcher.
Yeah,
it was quite tasty.
It was very expensive, and I decided to dump my glass on the ground in some clumsiness and also drop the bottle, but I saved the bottle. I did that.
Yeah, you had about 5 guys looking over at you, ready to jump on you if that thing broke.
Oh, and Emily Detweiler was there. She
did enjoy it.
Well,
yeah, you look like a lost puppy with the eyes when you knocked that over.
Well, because I heard 20 people just suck all the oxygen out of the world. They're like, "Oh my God, what did you do?"
That was good.
It was a good one.
That was good after.
So, man, I'm trying to think of when we actually met, and I think it might have been the first time that I came out to Westmont, Illinois.
Westmont, yeah, for sure, is when you came out to Westmont and cooked the double.
Yeah, and
they had a great weekend too, if I remember correctly.
It wasn't too bad. We had a GC and an RGC, and that was a contest that I think Darren had won like 5 times in a row.
Yeah, he sucks.
It
was really my hometown contest and beating my ass every single year.
It was really good to come out there and.
Yeah, it was awesome, and you guys are right across from us. And like I said, it's been a good friendship since then. So.
Absolutely, but you've been in the barbecue world for quite some time. You've accomplished a lot, and I know that you've done a lot of good through barbecue as well. We'll get into that. But some of the things that I got a ton of questions to ask you.
Oh, boy.
Who do you think has impacted your life the most in competition barbecue?
I guess the easy answer for me would be to say one of the barbecuers, because like I said, I listened to your podcast, so I knew that this question was going to come up. But honestly, I would probably have to say it would be my deceased wife, Corliss. She really enjoyed our cooking. We had, big things that we were going to go and do and try in the, barbecue world, from either opening a food truck to restaurant to competition world. And, I only got to cook one contest before she passed away. So, and that drove my team. So, I when I decided to compete as Cancer Sucks Chicago, or originally I was cooking it as our foundation, our 501c3's name. It was just, I was going to turn around and, donate all the money back to the foundation. So, it was definitely, everything's driven by her. I mean, I can't keep her memory alive enough for my girls, and for those that didn't know her and what she stood for in that. So, non-barbecue would definitely be Corliss. So, I still, to this day, it's been 18 years now. God, a day hasn't gone by where I haven't thought about her, or what I could do, or can do something different for cancer. Yeah. So, yeah, for sure, it'd be Corliss would be my most influential and for driving me in barbecue. So.
Yeah, it's, my mom was one of the reasons I started cooking. When we lost her last year, she fought cancer for 17 years, and
yeah,
I can't light my pit or put sauce on something without thinking about her. It's
Yeah,
just
but
one of those.
that's good though. Those are good memories, and that it takes you a while, especially when it's someone that close like that as well to lose them. But you know what? Those are good memories, and so that's what when you turn them around and look at it as a positive that you're thinking about them, then it just makes me stronger. So that's the way I always look at it, at least.
Absolutely. And it used to make me cry immediately. Now it makes me smile.
You
And
know what? Tears aren't bad though.
yeah,
Tears can be of happiness too. So, trust me, I've cried. I'm like a crying little girl when it comes to, shit. I can be watching Animal Planet right now and I'll start crying just because I don't know why.
or watching me spill bourbon, either one.
Yeah, well, those were definitely sad tears. So
But you got into the barbecue and you started the foundation, but you've been extremely successful.
we've been pretty lucky over the years that while we were competing, that's for sure. It's you'd never think that you were gonna, because basically the way I started, I found the barbecue forum. I think that was back in like 1999. I thought I was a big hot shot. I had this new offset smoker I got from Home Depot, and I wanted to find out how to cook a turkey. And from there, found out there was a world of competition barbecue, and took off from there and got a FE 100 in I think 2000 or 2001, and cooked one contest in 2002, and took a few years off after Corliss passed, and cooked a couple more in 2005. Realized that there was something that we could do as a family with the girls, and because they were still so young at that stage, they didn't like me like to go anywhere, and they weren't with me, kind of thing. They didn't like sleepovers at people's places. I mean,
Hmm.
they were only 5 and 2 when Corliss passed, so they were still little bitty bitty things. So in 2006, that's when I decided to get a little RV and go out, and had a place for the girls to sleep. And as I thought at the time, cooking full time, and I was going to do like 10 contests, and that was huge, at least in my eyes back then. So and got lucky. So
Yeah. Well, you've also cooked in a lot of states, haven't you?
yeah, we've cooked. Well, I get officially 42 states plus District of Columbia, so 43 total. I had some nice cherry picking ones like Virginia and Colorado and Nebraska that were easy, and I just ran out of steam, ran out of gas. Funny, one of the teams I hang with, the barbecue bus boys that I mentor, we went out and cooked Virginia last year in the fall at around Halloween out there.
Oh,
So
the zombie queue.
yeah, the zombie queue. So we cooked that one as a double header, and I never cooked it myself, but I was out there with them cooking it. So that's all right. You know what? 43 states is pretty impressive.
No, it's I remember when you told me that, and I think you told me and Kim at the same time, and now that's one of Kim's things is that every year we have to add at least one new state.
See, that's totally how I started doing it, because at the beginning I was like, wow, I just cooked 4 new states. The next thing and you know how it is. I mean, look, you're in Virginia, I'm in Chicagoland, and it's like you got friends, I got friends all over the country. So it's like awesome to travel in the states that aren't in your neighborhood and see guys that you see once a year, every other year kind of thing. So
Oh yeah, and we've made so many friends when we've got to go to other places, you know,
yeah.
especially like Westmont, got there, go there and meet all those people and from the Midwest who we had not met before, got chased out of the amusement park by security. I asked Kim, I was like, why are you running? She's like, I just got to run faster than Mark Rasmussen, then I'll be fine.
I just trip them.
One of the things that we like to talk about on here, we always barbecue is surrounded by people that want to talk about, their successes. One of the things I like to focus on is failures, because I think when we have big failures at a contest, those are the things that really teach us. Do you have a favorite failure of yours?
Probably like the one that really sticks in my head was I flew out to Arizona. My friends lived in Tucson at the time, and I flew in there and was driving over to Stagecoach or Indio,
Mhm.
that one that Tom used to put on. I had met my friend. She came over to New Mexico in the springtime, and I gave her a whole bunch of sauces and rubs and whatever other things that I was going to be needing because I was borrowing. I think I cooked on a FE 100 or FEC 100 that year at the contest. But so I gave her all my supplies. Turned out I was a big Blues Hog guy and sponsored by Bill and all that back in the day. Well, instead of my normal Blues Hog sauce, I gave them all Tennessee Red. So I basically didn't have any of my sauces for the contest. And I realized that at like 5 o'clock in the morning on that Friday morning when I was packing up the car, the rental van I had, and was heading over to Indio,
Mhm.
California for this contest, and realized then that I had the wrong sauces. So as quick as possible, ran to the store, got as much shit as I could to try and make up a Blues Hog sauce because the contest that we were cooking was a double KCBS and then a also an IBCA contest. So it was
Oh,
three
wow.
contests. I was cooking it solo. Uh, Unbelievable contest though, with I mean, just the sights and everything at the thing. But that's a whole nother story. And yeah, and surprisingly walked away. I know for sure I got a first place brisket out of the deal from the weekend, and I got a few other calls that just absolutely amazed me because you sort of feel like you don't have clothes on when you don't have your sauces or rubs or injections or stuff like that. So, but yeah, that'd probably be the worst. I mean, there's I never had we never in all the years got DQ'd, so I don't know how I ever managed to do that. You know, I pushed it a lot of times with getting that turn-in box. It was always, if I was at a contest with Tuffy, boy, it was either me or him that was going to be the last one turning in. That's for sure. And you knew when if he went running past you, you were in trouble. So, and he did that to me once at that first year at the Lexington, North Carolina contest. And he had just been DQ'd at that contest down in Florida, and there was a big old stink about it, and came back and DQ'd him. Well, he went sprinting past me the next weekend at Lexington, and I knew we had a few minutes, but when you see that skinny little guy who used to run cross country going past you at 90 miles an hour and big old fat
It,
me walking up to try and turn my thing, and you panic a little bit. So
right.
he was running the whole way going, "You got plenty of time. You got plenty of time." And I'm like, "You're an ass." I almost pulled a hamstring on that one.
That's a total Tuffy thing to do, too.
Yeah, oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, and he'd beat me in a race. I can put that out there for sure. So
So when you're at a contest, you got to cook with you a few times, and you kind of, to me, I think you epitomize the spirit of barbecue and that you love to have a good time, but you love to cook well. You love seeing everybody. How do you maintain your focus yet doing all of that stuff?
yeah, it's funny because like all the guys that I always hung with. I mean, like Darren's in bed at 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, and you don't see him drinking on a Friday night. And boy, I was like the complete opposite of that. We're out there to have fun, and but when it comes to game time, though, I'm the biggest competitor out there, and I want to win. So I mean, I might not. I mean, I take it. Don't get me wrong. I would always take it serious on a Friday night in a Friday afternoon. Hell, you go to a cooks meeting and you can scare the shit out of half the teams at the cooks meeting. You've already won as a competitor. So, but yeah, I mean, I was big time competitor. So when it came time to Saturday for turn in time, you just got to know how to turn it off and on back on again. Concentration is a key thing, repetition, and you get in that little zone of it doesn't really matter what you're pulling out of your Cambro or whatever. It's just magically good. I don't know how that happens, but um, so yeah. So I mean, I definitely didn't back away from having a good time at the contest and seeing people and having special events or mai tais or whatever we were having fun for the weekend. So
Let's go back and unpack something you just said about going to Cook's meeting and scaring the shit out of everybody.
oh yeah,
What's that?
you just like I said, if when we used to hang around and we'd joke around as the A team. And we would all five or six of us, depending on where we were at cooking in the country. And if we would all go there, well, we weren't quiet to begin with. So we were talking smack the whole way. And you could just see it in, guys that like knew who we were or whatever their reasonings were just ready to politely say crap themselves because here are these guys that go around the country and actually have a pretty good record, and we probably were served about 20 too many cocktails at happy hour heading to the cooks meeting. Teams would they start clamming up a little bit and tightening up and getting a little scared. So all in good natured fun though.
Yeah, so but gamesmanship is definitely part of it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I think that you really enjoy that psychological warfare part of it.
You know what? Why not? If it helps you, if it gives you, I'd never do anything to hurt anyone either. So I mean, I want
Right.
folks to know that. I mean, I go out there, and I mean, nowadays it's like I give away my information if anyone wants it, and I become friends with you. I'll give you whatever techniques or seasonings or whatever. It's not about that, but it's about winning, though. I mean, I want to beat my kids if I'm playing them in pretty princess. I always wanted to beat them, but. I mean, it's also a hobby. It's a game. I realized early on that if I was able to get out of barbecue to be able to do something, for cancer research and to do something in my wife's memory, that was bad. I never had the aspirations of being, a restaurateur or catering or a food truck after my wife passed away. I had to worry about making sure I had, insurance for my kids and their dad had a steady job and, all that good stuff. So
Yeah.
I gave up those dreams, really early. And so I wasn't cooking. I mean, I took it seriously, but I wasn't that serious about it.
I've always, Darren always says, I'll stop doing this when it stops being fun. And I think he's 100% correct about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean that like I said, I go out the guys from the barbecue bus and I still have a good time with it. I mean, physically right now, my body just couldn't handle it. Mentally either. It got to the stage where I just didn't want it. It became a job. And when I said it wasn't when it became a job, I didn't want to do it anymore, like how Darren says. But I
Yeah.
still enjoy going out and seeing the guys. So, I'll still go there and add my tidbits of information with the bus guys. But it's me going there having fun, seeing people, and still having your finger on the pulse of barbecue and seeing what's going on and getting the adrenaline rush. And I don't walk up the stage because I'm not cooking with those guys. I'm sure they wouldn't care if I did, but they're doing it all. But it gives me a rush seeing those guys or seeing my friends getting a call and all that. It still excites me. So I thoroughly enjoy. If it wasn't me winning it, I was the happiest guy. If it was a friend winning a contest or winning categories,
Yeah.
so.
I get really tickled when a student gets their first call or gets a high call and
Oh, or when they beat you. I mean,
yeah.
it's like holy shit, another contest where 20 guys beat me that would have been at my class, and it's just like, you know what? That's what it's all about, though. So I mean, I was the happy. I mean, I'd be all pissed off and mumbling underneath my breath, but I mean, in the big picture things, I absolutely love that.
Absolutely.
You talk to me at awards, and I was ready to bite your head off. Like I said, that competitor in me, but. Afterwards, or I was happy for them when they were getting calls. So, I mean, I can't tell you how many 180s my a chicken recipe made out on the circuit of mine. I could never hit with the damn thing, and I knew like 10 guys that were nailing with it, and I could never hit it. So, go figure.
That's one of my bigger joys now at a contest is just seeing those people do well. But one of the things that I think that the barbecue has run into is the cost of things.
Yeah,
And what is one of the best or most worthwhile investments that you've made in competition barbecue?
I guess like the easiest one is always saying something like the Thermapen. Just because we use them so much. I mean, but I like literally learned how to cook. I had a Thermapen in my RV that literally was out of batteries, but I used it just to poke
Yeah.
and get the texture of it. So I would never even, it would never light up for me. So, it's hard to not say it's the Thermapen kind of thing.
See,
Um,
you're answering the purchase of $100 or less thing.
yeah, well, you know what? Geez, I don't even, it might be overall kind of thing.
That's true. It could
Money
be.
wise, the Thermapen, I shouldn't just say Thermapen, that's what I use, but I mean, think about it. It controls all your meat. it gives you your finished product for your meat, and that's what you're turning in. So,
It's funny.
I often think about this when I listen to your podcast, and I'm always like, oh, well, I would say this, or I don't know if it really would. A spray bottle, you can. I've gone through about 20 different spray bottles over the year. I still have my original orange Thermapen that I got like 21 years ago.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's how it's still around. The spray bottles I've used, 20 different varieties of spray bottles and, cutting boards and, that stuff. It's so, yeah, I'd probably have to stick with Thermapen. I wanted to come up with something really good and creative, and I just can't do it because honestly, it might be the best investment I ever made
It's
overall
in,
for everything kind of thing.
it's funny that you mentioned how it doesn't even work and you still just use it for tenderness,
Yeah.
because I find myself a lot more not caring not even looking at the number. It
No,
doesn't
I know.
matter.
It's funny because people would always say to me, "Well, what are you cooking it to?" And I'm like, "Butter." I mean, I don't know how to describe. I mean, how do you describe the feel of a perfectly cooked Wagyu brisket? I mean, you just,
It's really and it's hard to do in a class setting as well.
oh yeah, well that was, honestly, I hated cooking classes just because of that, because I would, and like I would always cook it with a whole bunch of chicken so everyone could have a piece of it. But yeah, I quit taking temps of stuff, you know. I knew I was dialed in so much that I knew within 5 minutes of when stuff was going to be done. I mean, the
Yeah.
pork and the brisket would be a little bit, but it would all be within like 15 minutes. But like ribs and chicken were spot on, always done within. I turn in chicken, I'd go out to the the Jambo and take the ribs off and give them a poke, and they'd be done, and bring them in and
Yeah.
sauce them, throw them in, and move on to pork kind of thing. So
That's funny. So you're I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So are you a technology guy, or are you more of a feel guy? I think we just answered that.
I like to think of myself as real technologically savvy because I used to cook on an FEC and all that, but yeah, no, I mean I can get by. I can thumb through stuff like my computer here. If my daughter hadn't have put the block on my camera, I probably would have known that. But yeah, no, I'm more of I like the feel, obviously with the without even seeing the gauges and stuff of what the temperature is. I tried doing shigging off at Darren, and I got those the probes that you can stick in and have, 3 or 4 different colors. And boy, look at how impressive I am. And honestly, all it did was confuse the hell out of myself. So
Okay.
I got some really nice thermopens, So,
I feel like you're making fun of me too.
oh, did he learn that from you?
No, I learned it from him, but
Yeah.
and
Oh well, I'm telling you, all the colors. It's just like I was impressed. I mean, and it's like, what's the purple one for? What's the pink one? Yellow? What's that? Green? Wow.
greens for chicken.
Yeah,
The
yeah. Well, he also has about 5,000 butts that he cooks. So
Yeah, I don't even think he runs those prevs anymore, but I still do. I mean,
yeah, I don't really. I like I said, I used to do them and I'd bring them and never plug them in, kind of thing. So I only plugged them in because I felt like I spent all that money on them. I should probably use them every once in a while.
so you strike me as someone that might be a touch superstitious.
I did have definitely some, and that most of them were the day on Saturdays, like at awards or during leading up to turn-ins. But yeah, oh yeah, I started, during the week time, weekday when trimming it, like chicken, I would have to freeze. It didn't matter if I trimmed it on a Thursday night or not, and was leaving. I would have to throw it in the freezer and get it a little bit frozen. Hell, I'd throw it in the RV freezer when I'd leave on a Thursday night and pull in the contest and pull it out so it started defrosting. Just because I did it once and I hit a first place.
Really?
Oh yeah, so then I did that every single time then.
See, there's a giant debate out there right now because people say that they trim a bunch of chicken, and they freeze it, and then they just thaw it and use it.
And I would I would or ziploc. I would vacuum seal it, put them in a Ziploc bag, and then vacuum seal them. and take them out and let them defrost, usually sitting on the counter, at a contest to start warming up a bit.
Huh.
But everyone's, think about it. Everyone's adding either a brine or an injection or a soak or, whatever you're doing to it, you're adding back to it. So I know people say all the cells explode and all that, but I don't know. I never had a problem with not having juicy chicken. So.
Right. Any other rituals, routines?
Oh yeah, well, and then I would have to have the Nalgene containers. I had to have certain colors for. It's
You
funny
do.
because my last year competing, all my containers that I started with back in the day and started all breaking on me. So I'm like, this is the sign. This is it right here. And so yeah, so now I've got like as a non-competitor, I've got to have 20 Nalgene containers of that I will no longer probably use again. I'd have like I got big, huge ones that are like 48-ounce ones that are good for a double contest. You can have double injection in the thing, and I'd only have to make it once, kind of thing. So yeah, so I'd always have to use that. I always had to have, but this was sort of one on life though. I had a Lucky Jack Daniels keychain that also had that has my wedding band on it, that at awards I would always have to touch my ring and touch the Jack Daniels keychain. I got that from Jimmy Bedford, who was the master distiller, number
Oh,
six
wow.
when I won the Jack. So Jimmy gave me that one. So I had that. I had my wedding band on that. And then I had my beads. And geez, we started that probably the 18 boys all started that in like 2006. And I just always, those guys came and went with beads, and I always went with them. And God forbid if I broke them and shit like that, and they'd be flying all over the place, and I'd be on my hands and knees picking them all up because those were all the lucky beads that I had for awards. So I'd have to get them all and recreate it and make my new necklace again and get all the pieces. So.
Oh, man.
And then what else? And then we would, if we won a GC, we would always go to the Thai place and have Thai food.
Nice.
I'm sure I've got more of them than but otherwise, no, I didn't. I didn't believe in any of those superstitions. Why would you believe in that crap?
You,
Yeah, I think more of it was just routine. I'd always wear the same aprons. The Crocs wore out, so you just moved on. Everyone thinks I wore those red Crocs all the time. I was just like when I first started out, and I don't think anyone else had those things on anymore. But yeah, I had baseball caps and stuff like that. It's funny because I just sold the RV and emptied it out, and I probably got, I don't know, like 12 containers of crap out of the thing. It's just amazing how much stuff you have. But I literally like found all my old competition baseball hats and stuff like that I wore, that became buried in the RV somewhere.
wow.
So yeah, I know, and it's just like, oh, these things are beautiful, how worn out they are, and just competing every single weekend for all year long, and they just amazing how worn out they get. So
Wow. That's great. Uh, I bet that was like a big trip down memory road.
you know what, and it was pretty cool because I will say that I was in the garage and I would literally grab a tub and start going through it and seeing what I got, and it's just like it's amazing how much barbecue stuff I have. So I'm trying to get organized enough, to put it all together and do something, probably for something here locally, and whatever I can. I was thinking doing like raffle tickets and
Yeah. That's
making a
cool.
whole thing, and like with the Cambro and cooking supplies and all that stuff, that I'll no longer use, but for some up and coming team or any kind of team could use this stuff, spray bottle or, fancy. I'm the only idiot that would go out and spend $50 for a spray bottle. Well, I shouldn't say that. Every barbecue out there probably spends that for spray bottles. But yeah, it's like, and think of all the money that we've, you know, I actually over the last 2 years got rid of all my trophies, which was probably the hardest thing I've ever done. But actually, it becomes pretty cleansing when you did do it because it was the complete cycle or circle,
Yeah.
where you fought so much to get those ribbons and trophies, and then it became, they're dust collectors. And like I said, if you're really not going to be opening a restaurant or where you can display them kind of thing,
Yeah.
they're useless. I mean, I've saved about 10 of them, maybe 20 of them total. And most of them are just because I got grand championship or six grand championships from one contest in Michigan. So I've got like all those trophies in there, just bowling trophies. But
No, so
you win the contest 4 years in a row. You like keep something as a memento from it. But
wow, that's awesome. That's because we have a whole stairwell in the basement that's full of you know things that I'm never going to look at again.
no, well, and then I started packing them all up, and I packed them all up in the big Rubbermaid containers, and I just had like 20 I mean, and when you tear them apart and break them down, they literally can put a ton of them in those containers. But I'm like, well, what am I gonna do with the, because I'm wanting to get over to Scotland here, and
Right.
it's like I'm not going over there with 100 trophies. I mean, our cottage is small enough over there, and I've got a couple big trophies that are going to take up a lot of room. So it's like, I can't be going over there with a whole bunch of them. So it was time to get rid of them.
Go from smoking pork butts to smoking haggis.
Exactly.
Were you a big music guy when you were cooking? Did you listen to a lot of music?
I did, I always liked something, especially right before chicken turn-ins, something a little heavier to really get you going, to get my blood going, pumped up, kind of thing. I'd always have a beer around 11:30 just to calm my nerves, and then I would turn around and like 10 to 12 kind of thing, put on something that would just get me going. So you go from like a total lull to all of a sudden you're so amped up that you're ready to run through a wall kind of thing. So yeah, I always enjoyed music. It relaxed you. It was, definitely a way to keep you staying focused, especially when during turn-ins and stuff like that.
Let's not gloss over the fact of that 10 to 11 o'clock beer. It's become a huge part of my program.
It calmed me. So I mean, man, back in the day we
Yeah.
used to do, gee, I think we might have even started doing 3 shots in the morning time. Well, shit, you're almost half drunk by the time you're turning stuff in.
Right.
So then we, went to the 922, and yeah, and the beer is definitely one that, I mean, I always did one of those where right before turn-ins, because you just feel like you're ready to jump out of your skin, and just have a beer to sort of pull you down a bit. And I might even have one at 1 o'clock as well, just to try and so you don't get too amped up.
Yeah.
You don't want to be nervous doing turn-ins. So
I always enjoy my 10 o'clock beer. I
yep.
I prefer it to be spotted cow, but I live in Virginia.
Yeah,
So
I just had one of those yesterday. So good stuff.
it's one of the best beers in the world.
Yes, sir.
Probably the only good thing to come out of Wisconsin, though.
But that's about it. That's for sure. I agree with you there.
No offense, Wisconsin people. That was a joke.
No, it wasn't. Go Bears.
Go Bears. So if you had to give advice to a smart, young cook who's about to get into competition barbecue, what would you tell them that they need to do?
Number one, there's no question about it. Cook, and cook more. I mean, I wouldn't even consider going into, oh yeah, go and cook and you'll learn real quick on how to do comp. No, you won't. You're going to get your ass handed to you. You're not going to know what you did wrong. You're not going to know what you had to do better. In the day and age right now of social media and that sort of thing, and where specific groups are there. I mean,
Mhm.
right now, if I was a new and upcoming team, I would cook and I would post. I would cook, and even if you don't have clamshells to build your boxes, then do it on a cutting board and put 6 racks or 6 bones together to see what a rib turning box would look in.
Yeah.
Put a bunch of thighs or legs, whatever you're turning in, of chicken on the cutting board, and see what that's going to look like. When I was younger, I mean, I was already probably a year, maybe, yeah, a year or two in the cooking. chicken was just, it's sort of like how pork is now, where it can be one week you're a winner, next week you're a loser. And that's sort of how chicken was. I mean, some guys back in the days, like Johnny used to always hit it. Oh, sorry, the dogs are going to
That's
kill each
okay.
other here. That's the 40-pound dog going after the 140-pound dog. He don't take no gruff. But there were guys, that would always nail chicken back in the day, and it was just one of those that it sort of fluctuated. And I always wanted to have something that, as I always called it, I wanted 10th place chicken. I wasn't trying to get the best chicken out there. I mean, yeah, if you win it, great. But I always wanted to hear your name called just so you knew where it was. Because man, I lost a lot of grand championships early on in my career because of chicken. So I literally cook chicken, once a day for a whole month, and my girl still won't eat chicken. So literally I would trim and I would cook like 3 pieces of chicken, and I would, sample it, and I would do it all again the next night, try it again. So it became where it wasn't dinner as much as, I was sampling a piece of chicken at 10 o'clock at night, but I forced myself to cook chicken, every day for a month kind of thing. Ribs, I would get whole slabs of ribs and cut them off, and I would cook the St. Louis ribs, cut them in half or in the third so you can try different rubs and sauces. And then I'd also get the rib tips, and I did a lot of rib tips where I was sampling just to try and get flavors of rubs and that sort of thing. So yeah, I was like insane at the beginning,
Wow.
but like I said, for teams now, it's cook, 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 and more cook. You got to be able to do this stuff if you want to be a competitive team. As you got to be able to basically do this stuff blindfolded, where it's just a routine, and your body and your brain is wanting to do it before you're actually realizing that you are doing it, kind of thing. And yeah, cook, cook, and more cook. Learn flavors. There's no magic pixie dust out there. All these young teams think that there's some magical that teams that have success are doing. There's not. It's just you got to cook good barbecue. Don't worry so much about the sauces and rubs. I mean, yeah, you can get Blues Hog and Smoking Guns, and I guarantee you could win every week. Hand that to Darren, and he would win every single week with it. I mean, I'm not saying that he doesn't use it, but I'm not saying that he does use that stuff. But anyhow, you give Darren anything and he's going to win. So that's why I never thought that the rubs and the sauces mattered as much as cooking good barbecue does, cooking a perfect piece of meat.
Right.
So I used,
It's
and I
tempting.
used I used to throw in new flavors and everything while, right in the middle of a season kind of thing, just because I wasn't going to kill myself with tenderness or, the finish.
Mhm.
And I wasn't going to be adding a flavor that was so holy, this is going to just blow them out of the water, too spicy or sour or, savory or whatever I was trying to do with it. Um, so I wouldn't do anything too drastic, but yeah, teams just need to learn how to cook barbecue, learn how to use your knives, learn how to, tend fire. If you're a pellet cooker, be the best pellet cooker you can be out there. I use supplemental woods on mine. I really thought that it mattered what pellets you used. Moisture content in the moisture in the air, the contest that you were cooking at would also matter. Same deal with when you have stick burners. Like what your moisture content is in your wood. All that stuff. Where your fire is, if you're using a basket or not. That's what teams need to learn. Become a
Yeah.
good competitive.
No,
You
that's
know,
all a lot of great advice. I never
and my
thought about.
biggest thing, and I tell this to my barbecue bus boys all the time, the KISS method, the keep it simple, stupid. If you're gonna, I mean, my way of cooking was always to try and keep it simple, just because I was basically a one man team, and then I had to, have eyes in the back of my head for my girls with what they were doing at contests and that sort of thing. So I always tried to make my methods and that sort of thing a little bit on the easier side than, if I had two different methods and it sort of both came out the same at the end, I would definitely take the simpler method. That's what I tell, like barbecue boys, bus boys. I remind them all the time, keep it simple. Don't make it more complex than it needs to be. and and then hopefully you enjoy some success with it. So
Yeah, that's it's something that I tell people a lot of times. I they're like, "Well, I added this and I added that and I added this," and I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa! You're not
yeah.
going to make that piece of meat better by adding things."
Well, you're right, because you'll see guys that are trying like six different flavors, and they have their six racks of of ribs out there, and they've got toothpicks all in them, but they don't have anything like that sets the standard of what they're looking for. They'll try six different sauces with six different rubs, but they don't know any. See, like I would do three rubs with three different sauces, or I would do one rub with three different, or one sauce with three different rubs, because then at least you're seeing and comparing, and it's like, okay, well, that rub is useless or that sauce is useless. But if you're doing six different ones, you can't compare them to anything else.
Right? How can you
So
tell? Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. And it's I added this and I added that, and I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa.
yeah,
I mean, like last year, I'll give you an example. We were just fighting ribs, fighting ribs, fighting ribs, fighting ribs, fighting ribs, and I was like, you know what? Give me the bottle of Guns Hot. Give me the bottle of Cimarron Docks. And Kim's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, cooking a Johnny Trigg rib right now. I'm not even going to mess around with it. I'm not going to do anything to this rib other than that. And we ended up getting second place ribs that day.
that combination won me a ton of money and trophies over the years. So I'd still go out there and cook smoking guns and Cimarron Docks and Blues Hog, and I guarantee I would crack the bottle of sauce open on the Blues Hog with my ribs.
Oh,
Literally,
yeah.
I did nothing to it. I would crack the jar open. I'd heat it up on I called it the hot tub on my Jambo, and I'd heat it up on the hot tub and pour them out, and it'd be just plain old Blues Hog, and I was very successful with ribs. So
It's funny how it all always comes back to that one common denominator.
I mean, think about it. I mean, the Head Country's another one that's been out there. I mean, people think they're inventing the wheel kind of thing, and like I said, searching for that magic pixie dust, and it's not out there. You just cook good barbecue, and the flavor just don't insult them.
Right, right. What do you think's missing from competition barbecue these days?
I think there's a few things. I mean, right now, I think probably the biggest thing that KCBS needs to figure out are the costs, and then the other thing is the people involvement kind of thing, the crowds. Because I was involved, as you know, the Westmont contest. It's easy to sell a barbecue contest until you got to try and sell the people that are going to run it, how they're going to try and get money back on it.
Right.
And if it's just fans showing up, and the fans have, staring at us as we're sitting underneath our easy up, it doesn't do it. I mean, and I understand that it's health and, departments and all that limit what you can do, but something needs to be figured out there. There's been a lot of smart people at KCBS trying to figure that out. I think for it to really sustain and be able to hold up, as a top-notch competitive sport. I mean, I hate that term sport and barbecue, but um, yeah, I mean, come on. It's like I was an athlete, 20, 30 years ago. Now I'm just a fat ass running to the buffet table is all I am. So
And that's funny that you mentioned that because I have tried so hard on here not to call it a sport.
yeah, it's just one of those things that it's just like,
No, no, and I'm
we're
not
not athletes. It's
right. I'm not being, and I'm because it's always right there at the tip of my tongue, and I'm like, you know what? Calm down.
I hate that. I mean, so yeah, that's one of my pet peeves. But yeah, so I don't know. It's so they got to figure out that the cost, and probably then this is for KCBS. I think the cost, and then how to get people involved more. Like you always want to say the mentoring programs and stuff like that. That's only going to work is if teams really get involved, and that's the teams that are the experienced teams get more involved with it. You can put like like the Chicagoland barbecue, and I'll always say to those guys there, you got questions, message me. If I'm available, I'll let you know. I'm talking with this guy from Minnesota, never met him, someone said, hey, Scotty might be able to help you out. And we've exchanged 5 different messages back and forth of me trying to, help a new barbecue team out with cooking. So
Yeah.
I think most of the, younger teams are scared shitless to talk to the, experienced teams. I mean, I used to, yeah, it's like, okay, so I got lucky. I won the jack, and I had a little bit of success with contests and shit like that. But why wouldn't you be? I put my pants on just like you. I mean, there's no different. Why wouldn't teams want to come and talk to you? I guess if I was a young team, I'd want to talk. I mean, I always wanted to, hang with royalty kind of thing. So, I mean, that's
Yeah.
why I became friends with Darren. I mean, geez.
You just I tell people all the time, they're like, well, how do I do it? And I'm like, go introduce yourself, bring something nice, and then just listen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like if I don't, mention him, I'm a fool because Ray Lampy was one of the got me Dr. Barbecue that got me going. He went to the high school that was basically next town to where our high school was. We didn't play each other in conferences, but so he grew up a couple miles away from me. When I moved out farther into the suburbs, it turns out he lived out here as well. Met him on the barbecue forum, and then became really good friends with Ray. And so he's sort of guided me through this whole, showed me the way kind of thing. He's one of those leading guys that in barbecue. So, and it's like, so getting to hang with him, and before I even started cooking, I would go to Shannon, Illinois, and got to judge a contest and hang around and party with Ray and drinking his Bahama Mamas and realizing that there really was a huge hangover on a Saturday at barbecue contest. But yeah, so it's like go and talk to people. Most of us don't bite.
Yep.
It's if it's a bad time, I'm sorry, now's not a good time. And that's what, be prepared to hear that from teams, or when you walk up, say, hey, now a good time to say hey and whatever. And teams, if you're not available, you're gonna say I'm not available.
Yeah.
I mean, how like on a Friday night at a contest, or Thursday night, even better at a contest, and walking up when everyone's all around, a fire and having fun and passing a bottle of bourbon around, and you're a new team, and there's always teams walking up. Shit, some of my best friends are guys that just came walking into my camp like that, sort of looking at them all cross-eyed, going, "What are you doing here?" Next thing you know, 3 years later, you're best friends with the guys, kind of thing.
Exactly.
So, yeah,
That's why barbecue is great.
it is. It absolutely that is what makes it so much fun.
Well, Scotty, thank you for taking some time now, but now we got to get into the rapid fire questions, buddy. So, what's one of your favorite pre, during, or post competition meals?
After is always Thai food, because hopefully that meant that we won a GC. But I like Chinese kind of thing after a meal, or
Absolutely.
after a contest. I mean,
That's one of our favorites too. That or sushi. We love sushi.
yeah, I actually started eating sushi for lunch on Fridays at contests for a while, and it was another one of those things where I had some success for, like, I did it for a couple of years and then just quit doing it. So
Do you have a favorite present that you like to give to people?
present,
Yeah.
I got so much stuff loaned out for to guys right now. I'm not even sure what I have anymore. I forget. I look for something. I'm like, I don't even know who has that. So I know I've got a couple Cambros out there, and my meat slicers, and my grinders. You name it, I got them out there. So
Do you think people have any misconceptions about you, or what would you say they were?
oh yeah, I mean it's definitely that everyone thinks I'm an ass, but just because, nah, I mean, I like to. I'll speak and say what I say, but honestly, if you listen to what I'm saying, it's not me trying to be an ass or hurt someone, or I'm trying to speak the truth. And deep down, I may have a hard way of going about it, but in the big picture of things, I'm trying to say and do what is
Yeah,
right. So I got a big heart. People don't
absolutely.
really people don't realize that about me, is I got a huge heart.
No, I
And
think
I'm about as loyal of a guy as you're gonna get. So if you're going into a fight, I'm the guy standing behind you. So, or actually, I'm probably the idiot leading the charge. So
I don't
that's
think
that's
there's.
the Scotsman in me. But yeah, I'm very loyal, and and I got a huge heart. So
I don't think there's anybody out there that thinks that you don't have a big heart. That's
Uh,
I've known that from the first time I ever texted you to our current friendship now. There's
but
no
that does mean a lot because I mean, like I said, it's I want people to know that I am a good guy and I'm out there trying to, I may be having fun and talk a bunch of shit, but deep down I care and I have a heart and I
absolutely.
have I have feelings, so that's why I know that other people do as well. So respect, I guess, is a big word.
Yes, yes. So if you could have a gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, getting a message out to millions or billions, what would it be and why?
It would definitely be on one of the highways going into the city of Chicago, and it would have been my big, huge "Cancer Sucks" logo, and probably with the picture of Corliss up there with it, Corliss and the girls. I absolutely cherish those pictures, and we unfortunately don't have enough of them. But I have a Christmas picture when Lexi wasn't even a year old, and Zoe was maybe 4 years old, kind of thing, with Corliss, and they were all dressed up in their sweaters, and it absolutely melts me every time I see it. And like I said, she's passed away 18 years ago. So, yeah, definitely, trying to sell the foundation and, raise money for cancer research, which I will put a plug in this. I don't no longer have my 501(c)(3), but over the years, though, we donated over $350,000 for cancer research and to assist those
Fantastic.
fighting cancer. And the majority of that money came from barbecuing or from my barbecue classes, kind of thing. So barbecue was a huge, huge. Not only did I or my name and everything go in the we also barbecue community contributed huge amounts for cancer research and that. So
Yeah,
thank you to everyone on that.
I can't think of a better barbecue story out there, buddy. I really can't. But I have to ask the last question.
Yep.
What is an unusual habit or an absurd thing that you love?
Oh God. I got a lot of quirky things that
No.
yeah, I know. Well, I mean, like food wise, I'm not afraid to try and eat anything. I'll eat anything once. So I mean, you can't even do that. Quirky though, man. See, I had some really strange ones because like I had a big, huge like a glass art collection that people are like really, but it was my wife's favorite artists, and they were out of the hometown where I grew up in Riverside, and so I probably had about 200 pieces of glass art, and these things they're
Wow.
not like the dollar pieces kind of thing, and packing up the house for me getting ready to try and move over to Scotland here, and gave it away all to the girls, so they got everything out of it. But yeah, me being an art collector, no one ever figures that. I also like to uh I won't tell you guys that one.
What?
Everyone will be everyone will be over here wanting to drink it all on me. So
We all know about your bourbon habit.
oh yeah, I got the bourbon and the Scotch collection. So and supposedly you can't bring that stuff over to another country. Yeah, right. Good luck. It's a collection. I'm going to be bringing it over there and drinking it all in my retirement age. So
Well,
yeah, I don't know. Probably that. I don't do too. I mean, I do crazy things, but nothing too crazy like that though.
I can tell you that one of my bucket list trips is to come and visit you in Scotland whenever you get around.
Oh man, I'm telling you, it is so beautiful over there and peaceful, and everyone's like, "What are you gonna do on an island of 3,000 people?" I'm like, exactly. I'm gonna go out like now with my glass of bourbon or scotch in my Yeti glass with my baller cube, and I'm gonna go down by the ocean and watch the sunset, and knew that I made it another day and hope for another one tomorrow. So
Well, Scotty, I can't thank you enough for being on here. It's truly been a pleasure to have you.
thank you so much for having me, buddy. I greatly appreciate it. I love going out there, and I'll put it out there. If anyone needs help, let me know. I'll definitely, as much as I can, you know,
One of
send
the
out and
best.
help out and try and advance some young teams in the barbecue.
one of the best guys in barbecue, folks, Scottie Johnson. Thanks, Scottie.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you for listening to Pitmaster, an Old Virginia Smoke podcast. Be sure to subscribe and like the podcast, rate the podcast, and share it out with all your friends. Also, be sure to check out the Old Virginia Smoke YouTube channel as well. We will have another episode for you next week. For companies interested in advertising, please contact Old Virginia Smoke directly via www.oldvirginiasmoke.com. Pitmaster, an Old Virginia Smoke podcast, is edited by Chris Sedenka. Pitmaster, an Old Virginia Smoke podcast, is a property of Old Virginia Smoke LLC. All rights reserved. Copyright 2021.
Yes, Old Virginia Smoke.